Hey there, and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail, and I'm a writer and film fan from California. This episode is about a movie I enjoy so much I could watch it about every 90 days. The Castle of Cagliostro. It's an animated adventure that marked the directorial debut of none other than Hayao Miyazaki, the master animator of Studio Ghibli. It combines the charm of Miyazaki's animation and storytelling style with about a PG to PG-13 adventure tale. And the film was highly influential across the animation landscape, which we'll get into. Just before we start, here is a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that, so any criticisms are meant to be constructive. Also, my reviews can contain spoilers. I'll do my best to call them out for you if they come up. Alright, let's go! I put off watching The Castle of Cagliostro for years. Chances are, if you're an anime manga fan, you've at least heard of its main character, Lupin III. Created by artist Monkey Punch, the oddest of pen names, the Gentleman Thief is one of anime and manga's most famous characters, with a history dating back to the 1960s. Yet ignorant me, in the days before streaming, would see Castle's vanilla DVD cover in my local anime store and consistently pass. I knew the name Lupin, but nothing about a green-suited guy climbing up the side of a brick wall inspired. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, check the link in the quote links in this episode section at the bottom of this transcript. I wish I could sue that weak cover for false advertising. It failed to hint at the joy inside, focusing on some limited view of Lupin in struggle instead of one of his moments of triumph or a vibrant alt-Europe world of imagination that the film showcases. And so the bland advertising added a decades-long delay to my discovering the wonders of this movie. The Castle of Cagliostro initially struggled at the box office, but has become the most popular entry in the entire sprawling Lupin franchise. And like my experience, the film faced a tougher road to popularity in America. The movie was screened at scattered festivals, but it took until 1991, 12 years after its release, for its American theatrical run and 1992 for its home release. From there, it would develop that so-called, quote, cult following. The directorial debut of the beloved Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli, director of Spirited Away, Castle significantly influenced the Disney Renaissance and Miyazaki's later work. Yet while Miyazaki is a household brand for many American animation fans, I'll bet plenty haven't dived into this treat. So is The Castle of Cagliostro a good movie? The plot of The Castle of Cagliostro. After robbing a casino only to find the piles of cash they're now swimming in are counterfeit, Arsene Lupin III and his sidekick, Daisuke Jigen, travel to the small country of Cagliostro, a nation rumored to be behind the fake bills. Soon, Lupin crosses paths with Lady Clarisse de Cagliostro, a beautiful princess about to be married by force to the nation's leader, Count Cagliostro de Cagliostro. Along with the help of his friend Goemon Ishikawa XIII, wildcard thief Fujiko Mine, and sworn enemy inspector Koichi Zenigata, can Lupin stop the wedding and uncover the mysterious treasure of Cagliostro? And just to take you through the cast here, apologies, I'm not a Japanese speaker, so I'm doing my best to pronounce these names. I'm sure I'm getting it a little bit wrong. Lupin III, at least in the version I saw, was voiced by Yasuo Yamada. Jigen was voiced by Kiyoshi Kobayashi. Clarisse de Cagliostro was voiced by Sumi Shimamoto. And Count Cagliostro was voiced by Tarō Ishida. Goemon Ishikawa XIII by Makio Inoue. Fujiko Mine by Eiko Masuyama. And Zenigata by Góro Naya. And you can read the rest of the main cast here in the transcript. And just a note, this review is for the Japanese language release. I recommend finding original language releases whenever possible. The film clips featured in this review are in an English language dub, which for me loses much of the charm factor, but due to copyright reasons, those are the clips I have links to, so you have to deal with it. And if you'd like to see a trailer for the Castle of Cagliostro, I tucked one away for you in the links in this episode section at the bottom of the transcript. It also has the screen caps for what I'm referencing from IMDb, and a few other clips of the movie as well. So let's talk about what makes this movie so enjoyable. The first category I'm calling always with that charm factor, and it is worth 6 points. Miyazaki and team bring the subtle charm machine of his My Neighbor Totoro and crash it into the action scenes of an old-school serial adventure romp a la Indiana Jones. The film begins with Lupin and Jigen fleeing the casino. As the police give chase, the officers' cars bust in half or break down comically, hoods and trunks flying open, parts falling everywhere. And there's Lupin's joyful, juvenile note pinned to a vehicle, a calling card taking credit for the chaos. As Lupin and Jigen discover the bills are counterfeit and gleefully fling them out the car window in a long, long trail of flittering money, it caps a sequence that drops us straight into the story and establishes the oddly lovable and, at times, slapstick tone. It's a tone that never drops and a film that never bores, with clever, memorable details. When Jigen changes from a disguise, we watch him let the air out of a clever little nozzle, inflating his belly like a balloon. And when Lupin reunites with Clarisse, he enchants her by dramatically summoning a flower and a trail of little flags from his hand, an exaggerated magic trick for a child's sense of humor. Lupin scales buildings with both clever grappling hooks and happy accident acrobatics. It's a tone where guns are fired and the few that die do so bloodlessly, with 2 could-be gruesome deaths carefully out of focus or off-screen. Next up, let's talk about the art that's in the details. As the director, but also a writer, designer, and storyboardist for the movie, Miyazaki's fingerprints are all over this production's meticulous design. Critic Janik Maslin said the animation is weak when it comes to fluid body movements, but outstanding in its attention to detail. And I agree. In Cagliostro, Miyazaki and team have created an arresting mock European countryside. Watching Lupin's vintage Fiat 500 cruise into old ruins with draping, overgrown green shrubbery is lovely. And the castle in question is magnificent. It looks lifted from a watercolor fairy tale, a beacon of romantic stone with its rising blue turrets. It's complete with a magical bridge walkway that extends from the castle to Clarisse's prison tower. It's a world where the Count's goons roll around in 30s suits and fire Tommy guns, Lupin produces a bizarre collection of tricky gadgets, and the Count flies himself an antiquated autogyro. And as is a Miyazaki trait, as the story unfolds, he pauses for visually arresting moments. We watch Lupin rest on the roof of the Fiat, at the same time Jigen changes its tire, a bed of blooming white flowers in the foreground and Jigen comically struggling underneath. When the Count opens his cloak before what could be his wedding to Clarisse, it stretches out inexplicably past her as if it is ready to sweep her unwillingly into his arms, inserting an anxious reality into the metaphorical visual. So 4 points for the art. Next, let's touch on the enjoyable scenes. The film's action and humor are ever present. There's no wasted space for flat exposition, as everything that drives the plot forward happens on the fly and without detour. And every scene gives you a reason to watch. There are clever escapes with gadgets, mystifying accidental acrobatics, and a car and autogyro chase. Even when Jigen and Lupin sit down to dinner, discussing their next moves, they wrestle childishly over the meal. Each thief comically wields their knife and fork, trying to twist all the noodles around their own or gather up the meatballs on the plate. So 4 points for the enjoyable scenes. And next, I want to highlight how the film plays to its animated strengths. All mediums have advantages, and this movie wrings the absolute juice out of animation. The battle in the clock tower, often referenced in other animated works, which we'll get to, is a spiky fight that could look awful with computer graphics and, to my knowledge, be impossibly dangerous to stage. Lupin, the Count, and his men spin and climb dangerously through the gears of the working clock in a visual fun maze of sometimes death. And there are falls from trapdoors down inexplicably long cartoon shafts into pits of spikes or dungeons. Only for Lupin to defy logic and survive, of course. It is physics-bending stuff that wouldn't play in live action. So 2 points for the way the movie bends to the strengths of animation. Okay, so now it's time to get into what's not working so well here, and for this film, there's only one drawback I could constructively say. Let's call this one potential negative. That's not my Lupin. Some fans dislike the film because of Miyazaki and team's toned-down portrayal of the world of Lupin. This Lupin is a mannered, even if womanizing, gentleman thief instead of the ruthless criminal of the manga. Other characters were also changed. For example, Fujiko Mine dropped the role of sexy femme fatale, and Jigen and Gomon become lively and affable over serious and downbeat. I can't speak to the Lupin canon because I am not familiar with it, but I can understand how audiences feel when their entire understanding of a beloved characters is shifted in an adaptation. But I know here, for me, Lupin's light wickedness is delightful. So since this isn't a problem for me, it drains no points off this review. So the Castle of Cagliostro scores 16 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, I have to give it my go watch rating. The Castle of Cagliostro combines the enchantment of a Hayao Miyazaki production with the adventurous flair of a roughly PG-13 adventure. For a creator whose canon is beloved worldwide, I urge anyone who has not seen this effort to give it a watch. Though some Lupin III fans don't like the toned-down approach to the characters and world, my only drawback is that Miyazaki didn't make a sequel. With the film's non-stop invention, it's a masterpiece of cheeky, romantic adventure. If only I had seen this wacky movie poster, one I'm going to put a link to at the bottom in the links section, back in the day. It's got hijinks that didn't even feature in the film, like fiery escapes and Jigen chasing a naked lady. If I had seen this poster, then me and Lupin could have started this friendship a lot earlier. And a spoiler alert here before I finish my thoughts, as I'm about to give away the very, very ending of the film. You can use the chapter skip if you don't want to hear it, okay? Still here? Okay. At the film's end, as you watch Lupin and pals ride off from Clarisse, Inspector Zenigata, and his men chasing after them, the camera rising skyward, you will feel that unmistakable Miyazaki magic, that you just witnessed something wonderful. The legacy of the Castle of Cagliostro. So what's the legacy of the Castle of Cagliostro? Well, as touched on, it was the directorial debut of animator Hayao Miyazaki, beloved worldwide. And I would imagine the movie gave Miyazaki experience doing what many fans feel he does best, creating detailed architecture, landscapes, and that fluttering bit of whimsy to everything. Miyazaki, along with director Isao Takahata and producer Toshio Suzuki, formed Studio Ghibli in 1985. The studio has given us so many of the world's favorites, including My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Howl's Moving Castle, and Spirited Away. It is said online Miyazaki's softening of the Lupin character helped influence later Lupin iterations. I really need to go check out more Lupin, as I can't tell you that from experience, but maybe there are listeners here who could say if that is for sure the case. I would imagine it is. Monkey Punch, who is again the creator of Lupin III, to paraphrase, has said the movie is excellent but that the character is different from his. So there you go. Quick fun facts about the movie. Lupin's car, the Fiat 500, was modeled after head animator Yasuo Otsuka's. And Clarisse's car from the chase scene is a Citroën 2CV, which was Miyazaki's first car. The movie reportedly had a budget of 500 million yen, which is apparently about 2,282,000 late 70s US dollars. This took the movie past space battleship Yamato of 1977 as the most expensive anime film of its day. It is also said that the movie's use of perspective, if you think about all of the chase and action sequences, was a massive influence on what could be done within animation. Oddly, a heavily edited and shortened version of the movie exists as part of an arcade laserdisc video game called Cliffhanger, released in 1983. It is mostly Castle of Cagliostro footage, but also includes some of The Mystery of Mamo, a Lupin film from 1978. It is said that the arcade version of Cliffhanger made it into The Goonies. I'll have to look out for that if I ever rewatch the movie. And yes, the Sylvester Stallone movie Cliffhanger, now spelled as all one word, is unrelated. As I mentioned a bit earlier, the movie was theatrically released in Japan in December of 1979. It made it to North America at some festivals in the early 1980s, and finally made its American theatrical debut in April of 1991, with a home media release in October of 1992. It is said the movie was a major influence on animators and directors around the globe. For one, it's said the folks at Walt Disney Animation Studios took note, with the movie nudging films made during the fabled Disney Renaissance from 1989 to 1999. Made before the Disney Renaissance period, the ending Big Ben clock sequence in Disney's 1986 animated movie The Great Mouse Detective is an homage to Cagliostro. The Clock King episode of Batman the Animated Series also tips its hat to Cagliostro's clock sequence. And that's no surprise to me, as I can still recall that episode now about 30 years later as an adult. John Lasseter, co-founder of Pixar Animation Studios, was also quite influenced by Cagliostro and, of course, all of Miyazaki's work. The film was voted Best Anime in History by readers of Animage magazine, a Japanese anime magazine, in November of 2001. And to add to this legacy from me, well, I think The Castle of Cagliostro is that Miyazaki movie that flies under the radar. I could see American casual movie fans being familiar with Totoro or Spirited Away, but not necessarily knowing about this one, which for me is on par with anything he's done. Alright, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't seen it, I hope you'll take some time out to watch The Castle of Cagliostro, especially in one of the recommended Japanese language versions. And if you've seen it, what do you think about the movie? Does it charm you as much as it does me? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript. If you'd rather search, you'll find me as Will Turntail, and it is at not-ni-theaters.bsky.social. And if you like this episode, will you leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform? I'd appreciate you taking 1 minute or two to help me out, and I'd love to hear what you think of the show. Or if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button on this episode for me. New episodes of this podcast come out every Tuesday, so I'll be back with you in about a week. My next episode will be about the indie throwback movie The Love Witch, which couldn't be farther from this family-friendly animated adventure. So yeah, tune in for that. This podcast episode is a production copyright of Over-Egged Media, LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but yep, unintentional. Introduction music was Neon Laser Horizon. The exit music was Voxel Revolution. The additional music was Glitter Blast and Aerosol of My Love. And all 4 of those songs were made by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, and they were all licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Goodbye for now.